Elasticity helps us be able to predict what happens to revenue when there's a change in price. Now, it's important to be able, before we try to make this forecast of what happens to revenue when there's a change in price, it's essential that we understand how the consumers respond to a change in price. Are the consumers flexible? Are they elastic? Are they very responsive to a change in price? So if there's a change in price, will they change the quantity demanded significantly? For example, if there's a decrease in price, will they significantly increase their quantity demanded? Okay, so let's take a look at the specifics of this problem. When demand is inelastic, a decrease in price is going to cause what? Okay, so if we know that consumers are not responsive to a change in price, they have an inelastic type of demand, so that you can have a change in price, but the consumers won't show a significant change in their quantity demanded. So perhaps you might have a decrease in the price by 20%, but the consumers might increase their quantity demanded by just a little bit, say 2% or 3%. This is an illustration of an inelastic response. A 10% decrease in price is followed up by a smaller increase in the quantity demanded. So for a business, what does that mean to their total revenue? Well, let's consider this in terms of what's total revenue based upon. Total revenue is based upon both prices and quantities. Okay. Whoops, sorry. So total revenue, it's based upon prices and quantities. So when there's a change in price, it's going to impact total revenue. In terms of total revenue, if the price decreases, that's going to have a negative impact on total revenue. But if you decrease prices, you know quantity demanded is going to increase. So you know you've got this increase in quantity demanded. Okay. Now, let's take advantage of what we've just described about an inelastic response. If we know that consumers are not flexible, they don't have an elastic response to a change in price, what that suggests is that the quantity demanded is going to change by a smaller amount than the price. So that you could have a big change in price and you're only going to have a small increase in the quantity demanded. So what's going to happen overall? If you see that you've got a much smaller increase in quantity demanded, and that's the good beneficial impact of a price drop, then you're going to see that overall total revenue is going to decrease. So the correct answer in this problem is when demand is inelastic, a decrease in price will cause B, a decrease in total revenue. A large number of students missed this question, so I want to just go through it quickly. This question is focused on total surplus and how we measure total surplus. Well, first off, let's kind of remember what's total surplus. Total surplus is the value to the buyers minus the cost of production. So in looking at this demand-supply model, we can illustrate the value to the consumers by the demand curve. We illustrate the cost of production with the supply curve. So for each item that's brought into the marketplace, there's going to be a value to the consumers. For example, the first consumers have a very high value for an item. Excuse me. And the sellers, the initial sellers, have a very low cost of production. So every item that's brought into the market, there's a difference between the value to the consumers and the cost of production. So when we consider each and every item, that's going to describe the total surplus in this marketplace. So total surplus is going to be this large shaded triangle. Now, another way to consider this would be to focus upon, I think what might be easier is to break total surplus down. So now let's break total surplus down. Total surplus is equal to consumer surplus plus producer surplus. So consumer surplus is the difference between consumers' willingness to pay, their value of a good, and the price they actually pay. So consumer surplus is going to be the area of this triangle above that price level. And producer surplus is going to be the area of a triangle that's below that price level. Again, we come to illustrate total surplus as this larger triangle that's described by the points on this diagram, J, N, and L. So the correct answer is D. This problem was fairly complex. It requires you to break the problem down into multiple steps. The first step is to determine what type of consumer response is demonstrated. What's the elasticity of demand? Is this product illustrate an inelastic or elastic type of response? So we're given that information with this description. A decrease in price results in a decrease in revenue. Well, as we just saw a few minutes ago, we saw that this is describing an inelastic type of response. A decrease in price in an inelastic market is going to increase the quantity demanded by just a little bit, so that the decrease in price is going to result in a decrease in revenue for an inelastic type of marketplace. So we know that we're working with an inelastic good. So following to the second sentence here, which of the following price elasticities of demand would likely explain this result? Which of those price inelasticities of demand demonstrates an inelastic type of response? So hopefully at this point it makes it really easy that the correct answer is going to be A. Okay. So maybe that wasn't that easy, even once we told you that it was inelastic. So let's go back and focus upon the formula for price elasticity of demand. It's the percentage change in quantity demanded compared with the percentage change in price. So if we know we're working with an inelastic type of market response, we know that the numerator, the percentage change in quantity demanded, is going to be less than the denominator, the percentage change in price. So if we have a smaller number in the numerator than in the denominator, we know that that value is going to be less than 1. So price elasticity of demand of this list, the only one that's inelastic is A, 0.5. Well, I hope this helps, and give me some feedback if this really helped you, and I'll do more of these. Take care.